Okay, video 2. Schematics, traps, perks, reperk, perkups, and research. Man, when I was first making this video, I thought it'd be easy to teach people what to do, but there is a lot actually in this game. I can see why they get confused, and I mean, I was confused at first too, but did some research or learned on my own, and but if it gets overwhelming, people will quit. So hopefully this video helps. Um, So let's start with research because I can finish out the command tab then. So research, then the 4 basic stats I was talking about last video. So there's fortitude, offense, research, and tech. So fortitude's your health, of course. Offense is your gun damage and sword damage. Resistance is your shields. And tech is your ability damage, grenades, Gatling guns, bears, sword slashes. All that's affected by this. It's my favorite stat personally because I like playing a lazy outlander and dropping bears, but a lot of people go for offense too. I mean, at first you probably want to spread these out a little bit, but as soon as I got enough health and shields where I was comfortable, I stopped on those at like 200 or something. I don't know, the bottom stat 200, so maybe level 25 or 30 or something, and then I went all in on tech first and then offense. But so you gather research, you check every day, get your free llamas or your free materials from checking daily, see what's on the store, gather your research, go to research tab, spend whatever you want to spend it on. It can only stack up to so much, and then it caps out. So I think maybe at most you can go without 2 or 3 days without checking. But so you go here. I'm about to go over a threshold, so this should give me a big chunk on my power level at the top left. Not my commander level, my power level, which is the one that's most important for when you're getting groups and whatnot. That overall is what's boosting how much damage you're doing to enemies, how many levels you're giving to your friends when you group with them, and what maps you can get into. How high of a map you can go into is a lot dependent on this. So you want to get that higher up. Let's go spend this. So it should give me a big chunk into 121. Oh, 122, big boost. That's a lot at this level for it to go for me to see the bar move that much. So I'll hit it one more time because there's nowhere else I can spend it. Doesn't give as much unless it's going over a threshold like that. Let's see. So that's it for today on research. Profile, nothing here really. It'll show me at max level I start getting other stuff besides levels anymore, but they just recently added that. I wish they had done it sooner because I was capped out for months. You can XP boost if you get any of these out of llama. You can give some to your friends or XP boost yourself. I've been saving a few. At one point I had like 150 of these, but I've been saving a few in case they actually increase the level cap or something at some point. But I did spend a few here. And then a few friends on the green right here, some of my friends had boosted me. Okay. So that's that, and I told you about power level up here. You can kind of see 122, and you can see I have this much fortitude, 2,885, offense, resistance, and tech. And percentage of that you give to your friends when they join. So my level 2 friend, I think with two of us, we ended up boosting him to like level 80 overall with all his stats. So let's go to the armory. We're talking about schematics now. So there's, guns, melee weapons, and traps. That's your main ones. Of course, you want the orange ones if you can. A lot of times, but there are exceptions, like wooden floor spikes. Yes, they'll do less damage because I'm using the blue version, but it only takes 1 duct tape, whereas opposed the orange version uses 2 duct tapes. And at one point, I was really scrounging on duct tapes, and probably would again if I switched, but just that one, saving that one every time I make that is a big difference, and I don't really care. It's not for the damage that you use these wooden floor spikes, slow them down when they step on them. And it's still 30% for the blue version, as it is 30% or something like that for the orange. So yeah, I'm going to want to save the mats then if I'm just slowing them down. And I don't need them for the damage. Yes, the more damage would be nice if you got crap tons of mats or you like farming and you have plenty of duct tape. Go for the orange version. Every little bit of damage adding up on the enemy walking through that area helps. I just got lazy on farming, so I went with the blue. But yeah, all my other traps are orange. We'll start with guns. You know, certain ones are better than others. There are some more generic ones that you come across a lot, like say razor blades or the bear or one shots. You know, I came across a lot of those when I was leveling up, and they're not as good. You know, they're okay. If it's all you got, use it, especially if you get an orange schematic for it. But there are better guns out there, and some of them are only available for a short time. Like say the bundle bus here, my favorite gun currently. Kind of hard to control, but it packs a ridiculous kick on it. Yeah, just like you gotta aim at like their belly button to hit their head with the last shot, because it fires all of the barrels at once. So it's got 6, 7, 8 barrels. It fires all of them pretty much at once. So, but it just destroys enemies. A lot of people like the Hydra. I leveled it up and ended up not liking it as much, but I use it on maps that are relatively easy. I've noticed against harder enemies, it doesn't seem to do as much damage as I'd like. Typewriter is really fun. It's one that fires better from the hip. You don't have to aim down the sights. You just chug along like you're Dick Tracy or something like that, firing it from the hip. This is a Founders Revolt. This is from the Founders kit. If you got like a deluxe edition, really good pistol. Even though it only goes to purple, you can't get a purple, legendary version of it. Really nice. I should put more perk into that, but we'll get into that later. You know, there are really good guns out there. You can check Google or check Reddit. I usually go to Reddit, see what people are talking about. I buy most guns regardless, but I try to not level them up if they're not worthwhile. Let's see. Some of the more common ones that you might run into when you're leveling. Super Shredder, really nice sniper rifle that uses shotgun shells. Siegebreaker, really nice gun that you can come across without any special prerequisites. Let's see what else. Dragon's Breath, pretty nice pistol. You can come across in normal packs, I believe. Raptor, some people like, or Hunter Killer, I mean. Raptor is a purple version of it. A really nice one that you can come across in normal kits. Tiger Jaw, same thing. So that there's decent guns you can come across in the normal elements, but a lot of the nicest guns come from the events. Keeping up on the events, having some coins to buy stuff when it drops in the store. So let's go to melee weapons. I don't have a lot of them. I don't play ninjas that often, but I do have some for some of my defenders, or if a friend wants one. This is another Founder's weapon, Masamune. After 6 hits, it causes an explosion of fire. Or the Stormblade just causes affliction to the enemies, which affliction is like a dot. It just ticks damage on them over time. This one's really cool, the Walloper, because you can right click and it'll like jump to the enemy you're targeting up to a pretty far distance, so you can get around the map pretty quickly. Constructors tend to be good with hammers, so I had one of those leveled. So I won't get into melee too much. Traps. There are some that are better than others. I try to like the ceiling drop traps. It does have one thing that others can't do, which is it can drop from, I think it is 5 tiles high, it'll trigger. So if enemies are coming up a ramp, you can put a whole line of these in a straight line above that ramp, and it'll just drop them down the ramp. And the cool part is the tires will roll down too and take the enemies with them sometimes. And especially if you have like a whole row of 5 of them and you have tires rolling down that ramp the whole time, it's pretty nice. It just doesn't seem to do as much damage as I'd like. Even though I did try to level it a little bit with perks and stuff, it just never use it too often. I really love the ceiling electric field. It's like a Tesla coil on the ceiling. It'll hit enemies even in the tile next to it, not directly under it. It'll spread out. So I'll usually line the entrance to a trap tunnel with these to clear out some of the smaller junk first, so that my heavier hitting traps can take care of the sturdier ones. Because it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does a lot of damage, or a little bit of damage to a lot in the area. Then there's a ceiling gas trap, which is my favorite, but also the most expensive to make. It just leaves an area fart in the area that when the enemies walk through it, they take affliction damage as well as regular damage. You know, sometimes I can put one of these traps down, especially since I have it perked out, and it'll take care of a whole side of an invading force. If you need like a heavy hit, one shock boom on a single enemy, like at the actual base for anything that's made it through all your other stuff, a ceiling zapper, you can use that. I don't use them very often, but that's what they're good for. They do one good shock to a single, you know, enemy underneath, or maybe a couple enemies. Flame grill does what it says, lights them on fire on the floor. Freezes them. My other favorite, floor launcher, pushes them up. So if you have a wall at an angle or something, it'll push them into that and launch them away from your base, which buys your base more time. Because that's the thing you're trying to do on this game a lot of the time, is there's a timer. So running the timer out could be just as important, if not more important, than killing the enemies, because the enemies keep coming until that timer stops. So buying yourself time is really important. Wall darts, these are really neat because they hit three tiles in a row. So if you line them up where there's at the end of a trap tunnel or something where there's a whole line of enemies coming, it'll zip through all of them in a row, and you know that can do a crap ton of damage, and it pierces. So when the dart hits an enemy, it doesn't stop. It just goes through them through the next guy, and etc. Wall dynamo, really good at single target damage. So you want to put those near the end of your trap tunnel for something that's really got a lot of health that made it through. Wall launcher, same thing as a floor launcher, except on a wall. Push them back, buy you time. You know, buy you time to get there and repair the wall. Buy you time by launching him back to the start of a trap tunnel and having him walk through all that shit again. Wall lights, just stuns them. It can also it just causes impact damage too. So say a smasher has 30,000 impact resistance. That's what it takes for the smasher to get stunned or knocked down or whatever. So say they walk in front of this and take 21,000, that's not going to be enough to stun them. But if you put that right before you put up a puncher wall, then they reach the puncher wall. This does 27, so on its own too, it still wouldn't have been enough to break that threshold for that smasher. But because it already takes 21,000 from the wall lights, when it gets to this puncher wall, it's already vulnerable. So then boom, the puncher wall hits it and the smasher gets knocked back. So you want to do these wall lights ahead of your other traps, of your other floor launchers or wall launchers. Wall spikes, they punch the wall, they take damage. Sometimes on lower level maps I'll use that with the constructor, so the combo between them hitting the electrified wall and hitting the wall spikes, they'll one-shot themselves a lot of times. It's hilarious. So let's get into, after that we'll get into Reperk and Perkups. So for Reperks, well, this one's already done. So you can see modify perks. You can see this is all legendaried out. I can't level these up anymore. I could change them around if I don't like having critical rating and crit damage. But, you know, for now I like it as is. But see, you can spend this, the wrench, Reperks, costs 1,000. I can change this from critical rating to damage, or critical rating to more durability to make the trap last more charges. And you can see, say, this, let's see. What would I see? This guy. I don't know if I have any. So see the ceiling drop trap. Modify perks. I don't have enough. So there's perk up. See right here, rare perk up. So you get these from maps or from the store, and you can use them to. I could take it from 15 critical rating to 20 critical rating, and then you use epic perk up from there to take it even higher and higher until, you know, hopefully the trap is all legendaried out or whatever, and you've got it to where you want it. So same with the guns, same thing. You're using Reperk Perkups to change around stats to how you want the gun. And like I said, not all guns are created equal. One of the reasons why is, say, like this bundle bus. A lot of them won't let you roll a crit damage on this last slot, so this one gets an extra crit roll. So I've got a critical rating, a crit damage, a reload speed, and an element type. And then there's even more. There's even crazier guns, I believe. Yeah. So see, that bundle bus didn't have a choice on the reload speed spot for anything but reload speed or durability. But this typewriter can roll all damage. Instead of reload speed or magazine size, I can roll damage in there. Crit damage here, damage there, crit chance, crit damage, plus affliction. You know, pretty mean. So 38% chance isn't very good though, but you know, I could go, since it has affliction, I could try to go all damage with this and just roll damage, damage, fire damage, damage, and then damage to afflicted targets, and just try and stack. Oh yeah, 45% damage to afflicted targets. Oh, see, damage isn't a choice there, so that's why I ended up going critical on this. But some guns are better as a critical gun. Some guns are better just rolling pure damage on them. I tend to go the critical route because I like to see big numbers sometimes. But there's a lot of guns that people consider just rolling straight damage across the board is better than a critical build. Like my Obliterator, I ended up going all damage, so it's got damage to miss monsters, headshot damage. Since you're shooting slow, you should hit them in the damn head. Reload speed, damage. So you know, I didn't go with the critical build on this one, especially because it only started with 10%. Some guns start with as much as 15, or I think possibly even 20% crit chance off the bat. So those are the ones you definitely want to go on a crit build when they start with more than the average 10%. This gun's really neat because it can shoot through walls, and your defenders can use it to shoot through walls. So they always have an angle at the enemies. We covered research. We covered schematics, traps, Reperk, Perkups. Covered all that. So let's see, resources. That's what I was just gonna show you. So you can see I have some legendary Perkups, some epic Perkup, some rare Perkups. So you're seeing you use all those, and these two you can change the fire and amp up and stuff, and frost up you can use to convert a gun from, say, fire damage, like my typewriter gun was fire. I could change it to an ice gun. I'll go into elements later on because, well, I still have a little bit of time on this video, so we'll do that now. So certain enemies are vulnerable to more types, and they're resistant to other types, like an electric enemy. Let's go back to my guns. An electric enemy, or nature, is vulnerable to fire, because try and picture a tree. Nature is vulnerable to fire. But they are resistant, I believe, to water, because nature absorbs water. Trees drink water. So that's one way to look at it. So water element, like this gun, is good versus fire. Water puts out fire. But fire enemies are resistant to nature, I believe. So a tree hitting something that's on fire, not smart, I guess, if you want to think of it that way. So you want to use a water gun against fire. You want to use a fire gun against nature. And then for water enemies, of course, you want to use nature or electric, because the water enemies are vulnerable to the trees, etc. So the trees drink the water, so you can use a nature gun against the water enemies to hurt them more. But the water enemies, of course, are tough against fire. So it all circles around. I don't know if people are into Pokemon or whatever. So, you know, each has their vulnerability, and you want to try and match that with what you're shooting. And then there's the element energy on here. So say this gun, Hydra, is an energy. It does decent damage against all the elemental types, but it doesn't do as good of a damage. It's something like 30% or something like that, versus if you were to use a fire gun against a nature enemy, it would do, like, I don't know, I can't remember, it's like 90% or something. It does a lot more to match the elements. But if you're lazy that day, or they're really easy enemies anyway, just stick with energy so you don't have to keep swapping all the time. or especially if it's a map that's got a big mix of enemies on it, you know, use energy. Um, physical Physical is really good against enemies, especially at the beginning of the game. You won't run into enemies with elemental types much. For like Stonewood or Plankerton, you won't run into as many enemies with elements. So physical guns are going to be your best bet. All the enemies won't be a type; they'll just be physical. They won't be on fire. They won't be electrified. So physical guns will do more, because physical does, well, you can see right there, 44% damage. So there's your numbers, 44% for physical, whereas nature does 20%. And then, oh, see, that doesn't totally work out too. But so fire says right here, fire plus 20%, but matching the element makes it even do more. So like I said, fire versus nature will make it boosted even higher. But yeah, physical, it's really, there's a lot. Even at my level, I still use physical guns, because there are the take your flying ones. There's some of the smashers, some of the beamers, I call them, that shoot the laser beams from their mouth. Don't get an element ever, so you want to have a physical gun to blast them. I try to keep a physical gun in my first slot, and then an energy gun in my second slot, and then whatever element type I need in my third slot for that map. I'll switch the third slot out for whatever element type I'm fighting, so that you have a good mix. And I just switch out as necessary, you know, blast a beamer in the face with the physical gun, switch over, kill the little husks that are electrified with the fire gun. You know, if that one runs out of ammo or something, switch over to the energy one, blast them a few times. If you get a respite, reload them all. You know, do max damage, you know, put some effort in. So that's it for video 2, I think. Oh, I actually have materials to cover too. I got a little bit more time. The other one was 30 minutes, so we'll go into that. So go to Armory, Backpack. So you saw some of those schematics take certain kinds of materials. And there's the levels of the materials. So you can see 2-star, 3-star, 4-star materials. And that matches up with what your guns you're using. So, you know, here's a 4-star Bolt, or a 4-star Coco 45. I need 4-star mats for that. So for the most part, there's some mats that don't have a level, like crystals don't have a level, active parasols don't have a level, but this Peaky Twine is a 4-star mat because it's a 4-star gun. And Shadow Shards don't have, or are 4-star. Actually, I don't know, they don't have. Yeah, they're 4-star. So you need to have those materials, and the level of the map you're in is what level materials you get. So when you get to the end of Canny Valley, middle of Twine Peaks, you'll get a lot of these Shadow Shards. Malachite you'll get a lot at the end of Plankerton and through Canny Valley. So, you know, that you want to, and you don't want to over level your guns to the point where, like, if you made your gun 4-star, yeah, it's better. Where are you going to get the materials to make it unless you know somebody who has them that's willing to give them to you? Because I have a pain in the ass time keeping Shadow Shards up sometimes. So don't over level your guns. I made that mistake at least once when I was leveling up. I couldn't get the materials to make it after I took it to 4-star. I didn't have any Shadow Shards. So keep your guns at a level where you can still get the materials or have access to somebody who can get them for you. Otherwise, you're going to screw yourself and you won't be able to use that gun anymore. And I tend to keep, you know, I took some to 130 here, 5-star. I took some to 4-star. I still have a few at 3-star, so I can give some of my lower level friends a 3-star gun. They'll be happy. I still got my 4-star guns for the materials I have the most of, and I have only a small stash of like sunbeams and stuff. I have some more in my storage, but not a ton. You know, I have some extra Shadow Shards in here in case I start getting really low, but I try not to touch this section unless I'm really running out. But yeah, that's how materials work. You know, level up your guns to the type of materials you're using currently that you're finding on the maps you're in. If a high level friend takes you to the 4-star map or something and you get some of those mats, either give them back to him if it's going to waste your bag space for too long, or throw it in your storage. You don't want to keep that in your bag wasting space when you're not going to find any more of it until you play with that friend again. You know, you want to keep the mats that you need in your bag and in your storage. You know, if you got some of these shadow shards or sunbeams, I definitely try and keep them in storage. You don't want to toss those or anything. They're really hard to get. But other than that, give them to your friend or something if he wants them. Or especially if he's going to be making you stuff. You know, you can't use it. You don't have any recipes that are 4-star. He does. But yeah, just keep your mats. Worry about your stuff. And I think that's the end of this video. Next video, we will get into Llama's Expeditions Collection Book, Defenders, Transforms, and V-Books, like how to get some of them. And then one more video after that. I believe I might try to do a little bit of gameplay with some of these things, like some of the traps, how they work, how the defenders work when you put them out, maybe how to do some basic builds around some of the things, because it's ridiculous some of the things I see some of the lower level people doing, making these huge bases or building towers like they're playing Battle Royale and trying to shoot from the zombies from, you know, 20 tiles in the air or something, thinking it's protecting them. They don't care. The zombies don't give a shit about you generally. They're after the objective. You being up in the air 20 tiles is not helping anything, and it's just obstructing the view of the other players or the bears or whatnot that they have out. So don't be dumb. See you next video.